Hello. I guess this is part five of the universe is a mind. It reminds me of the Course in Miracles, where it says that the reality that we take as real is actually illusion. And it really does make sense. If fundamental units of mind, which I've called formatrons, are kind of molded into form by the force of what I'm calling creatronic energy. In other words, creative energy, creative conscious energy. It's, when I say energy, I don't mean like electricity. I mean energy that is aware that it is forming a creative process. So there's an interplay between what is traditionally called yin and yang. Yang is the active, yin is the receptive and responsive, and I'm calling it creatronic, which is creative, and formatronic, which takes on form as it's instructed to. But I was out walking earlier and I started to think that even something like space is a vector. It's a factor that has to be created within the mind of the universe. It is a unity. There is nothing outside of it. There is nothing beyond it. Therefore, since it's a unity, it has to separate things within its creative thought process. So I believe Immanuel Kant said that space was an a priori. In other words, you have to assume that space exists in order to put things in. But I would argue that it's actually the other way around, that space is something that the universe created to separate ideas. And then, of course, there's also time. So you end up with space-time, and space-time determines where points are in relationship to each other. They also have a controlling effect on the time factor in trying to traverse the distance between. But since this is all imaginative mental construct by the mind of the universe, every point within the universe, every particle within the universe actually hasn't got any mass at all. And since we know that F equals ma, if m is zero, then the force required to accelerate is also zero. So going faster than the speed of light is, you could take that for granted. You could also take for granted that it's possible to collapse space. We could, the creative mind could bend space. And it says in the Course in Miracles, as a student of the Course in Miracles, you're entitled to all the laws of time and space to be bent in your favour. A lot of people have said to me they thought that it was only about adjusting your mind. But I believe miracles are real. And there's no order of difficulty, and there's no order of difficulties because the reality that we're in, that we see the difficulty within, is actually a mental construct that the mind of God is holding in being at this moment. I mean, even this body that I'm sitting in is made of atoms, and the atoms are actually creatronic constructs that are molded in using formatronic consciousness. So there is nothing that the universal mind can't do. It creates distance so that it can separate, but it's only like as a type of illustration to make some sense of this illusory world that we live in. It's been made concrete by an invisible force that has no force. I know that's a contradiction, but what I mean is that this consciousness that's designed it all has created a situation where we've taken the illusion and we've created laws of time and space about the illusion. So I think it was Isaac Newton postulated that it requires force to move mass. But he didn't realise that mass isn't necessarily a fixed thing, that mass is a factor that's given by the creative process. So when you read about Jesus walking on the Sea of Galilee, and I've heard about different masters that could levitate, it seems to me that there is something going on in this at the level of universal mind that can command solid objects to become different, to have different qualities. Then there's also the question of communication within the universe. If force is required to move mass, but mass was an assumption that was something that was created, a factor, a construction factor, then if mass is made up, the combined weight of the entire universe is zero, in which case no force is required for any part of the universe to communicate with any other part of the universe. What a wonderful thought, that an idea could be transmitted from one side of the universe to the other side instantly. Wherever you are, God knows you're there. Whenever you ask for help, it's there instantly. Why wouldn't it be? It's all a massive construct. That's all I'm going to do today. Thank you for listening. Namaste. Namaste ji.